Everybody, we are now live. Hello to all you guys. Welcome to the presentation. Thank you for being here on this Friday. And by the way, it's Friday, and we are. I tell you what, thank God, amen for Friday. Yeah, I got to tell you guys, it has just been in Kentucky. It is hot. It is hot. All right, everybody. So now we are live on Spreaker. We're live, of course, on Instagram. We're live on YouTube and Twitter and Rumble and Twix and whatever. And KGRADB Radio and TikTok. So we're just live. Here we are. A couple things before we get started. If you want to go to, I want you to go to, you like the background? It's a pretty cool background. It's a different background. It's different than what I normally have on Fridays. Normally, Friday's a little scary, spooky Friday thing. But today is near-death experience. That's what we're going to talk about. We'll get there in just a second. So first of all, folks, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to a website called kgradb.com. All right? kgradb.com. And that I want you to go to that website and put Bishop as your promo code. That's really important because if you put Bishop as your promo code, you're going to get 30% off your subscription. They have some really great shows there. So make sure, again, kgradb.com. And put Bishop. Don't forget Bishop as your promo code. Also, if you want to go to my website, simple, bishopjameslong.com. There it is, bishopjameslong.com. And by the way, I do have the online classes are there for you. So the online, the demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy, those are for now free. Those are now free. So if you want to go, all you got to do is go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the class link. If you click on that class, it'll take you right there to the website. And it's real simple. Now, of course, if you want to donate to the USOCC, that would be wonderful. It helps our ministry, our clergy, primarily because we don't get paid. So we do this ministry 100% free. So if you want to help, that's wonderful. If you want to make a donation, that's beautiful. So you can go again, I'll go on the class link and you'll see it's all there. That's what it is. Yeah, that should be a Bishop's Gang. There you go. So I don't understand that. So anyway, if you want to go to the church's website, that's usocc.org. usocc.org. And now tonight, by the way, we have night prayer. We have night prayer Monday through Friday. So if you'd like to join us, you're more than welcome. We've been doing it for a while. I've been doing night prayer for 15 years now online. So if you'd like to join us, that's wonderful. Just simply go to usocc.org. Scroll all the way down to where it says night prayer. And it will take you right there to it's strictly Spreaker. So it's only audio. So we don't do video on night prayer because it's inappropriate. It's not about the video. It's about audio being together. So that is what we do. So anyway, there we go. Oh, well, goodness. Strudel. Well, hopefully you don't listen. I know that life can be difficult at times. I know that, folks. Folks, listen, I'm just like you guys. You know, clergy experiences ups and downs in life. We have good days. We have bad days. We have those days where we just want to go back to bed because we just, and quite honestly, a lot of it is because of the hate. There's a lot of hate that we get on online. I mean, the hate is just really toxic, but not just that. I mean, the ministry can be, you know, when you see death a lot, you see sadness, and you're helping people. And you know, we're humans. But I got to tell you something. If you treat every day as a gift and not as a curse, then you got it's a mindset. It really is. It's a mindset. So I encourage you that when you're having those difficult days, do something. Just do something that you need that'll get you the spirits up. Some people love listening to music. Some people love going out for a walk in nature. Some people love reading or watching a movie or talking to a friend. The point is when you have those days, and we're all going to have them, every one of us. When you have those days, then that's when you need to do some mental health therapy on yourself and get the help that you need. Talk to a professional or just do something that you really enjoy to lift your spirits because you matter. So I know a lot of people need to understand that you do matter. And some people say, well, I really don't. I'm not really doing much. I'm not really doing this. I'm not really. Stop thinking about what you're not doing. If you ever have helped somebody, if you've ever helped somebody, that you matter. So don't ever give up. Don't ever give that. Don't ever think that whatever life that you're living, if you're struggling with this or struggling with that, or you don't think you're making a difference, I'm telling you, you do. You do. You make a difference. So don't let the devil creep in and make you think that you're less than or that you're not loved, because the devil is a liar. The devil is a great big liar. And we ain't listening to no devil. I need to plug this up. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. All right, tonight we're going to talk about a really very interesting topic. Yeah, I do have a new background. Now, normally I have the scary, spooky background because it's Friday. It's Paranormal Friday. But I decided tonight, let's put up something different because of the topic. If you guys like this background better than the old one, then I'll keep it. I don't mind. For me, it looks a little... I was asking the Mr. Producer earlier. I said, "Does it look too feminine? I mean, does it look a little too, I am look. I love football. I love basketball. I love professional football. I'm a jock. I played football all my life. I love sports, and I was looking at it. I thought this looks a little feminine. I just a little bit. Just a little. Not that there's anything wrong with looking feminine, but I just so yeah. You love the Halloween one. I do too. So just let me know. Yeah, we're going to get San Francisco 49ers, by the way. Now, I'm going to tell you how old I am. There was no greater team than San Francisco 49ers, Jerry Rice and Joe Montana. Man, they were superstars. So, yeah, but I'm a 49er. I'm a 49ers fan, so but anyway, let me know if someone could do I don't know, one of those little voting things in TikTok. Can someone put a vote thing? Do you like this background or do you like the spooky one? Just let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers are pretty good too. The Green Bays are come on. All right. So yeah, if someone could make a that would be great if we could do a poll. Now, by the way, Miss Wilma will be. So hopefully she'll be here tomorrow. Miss Wilma is sick. Her blood pressure was really, messed up, and she went to the hospital. But hopefully, knock on wood, she'll be here with us tomorrow. I don't know. I can't promise. But anyway, just want to give you guys a heads up. But I'll be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, open mic, no matter what. And so hopefully Miss Wilma would join us as well. So, okay. And by the way, this Sunday, what's this? Steve Young. Oh, come on, Mr. Producer. Yeah, well, okay. Steve Young's not bad. But see, I miss the days of Joe Montana and Dan Marino. And I'm going to really show my age here. Refrigerator Perry and the Chicago Bears. Man, I mean, he was a monster. But okay, tonight we're going to talk about a really cool topic, near-death experience. And don't forget, 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, I'll be here too. So we'll be teaching Bible study, and I will also be staying on a lot longer on Sunday. So we don't have a hard break on Sunday. In other words, on Wednesday, we have to stop at 9:30 because we have night prayer, but on Sundays, we don't. Well, thank you there, Triple T. I appreciate that. Wow, look at this, everybody. Oh, come on. The 50-50. Some people love the spooky one. Some people love this one. Now, we only had 12 votes in there. So let's try this again. Let's do one more. Just indulge me for a moment. Just one more. If we can do one more vote, and everybody, please vote. Please vote. Do you like this one or the spooky one? All right. But you got to vote because it really does help me. I really love your opinion. Let's see. I lost 1 hour when I was 16 going to work. Thoughts. I got to tell you something. There's a lot of people who have these where they lose the sense of time. And that's a real interesting topic to discuss, by the way. Now, there are some people that will say that is perhaps people and I'm not trying to frighten, but people who say that they were abducted by aliens. many times they will say that they lose this huge amount of time, that they look at the clock, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And the next time they wake up, bam, it's 4 or 5 in the morning. So it's interesting. It is interesting. All right. Let's talk about this topic, everybody. Near-death experience. Okay, everyone likes the spooky one. So we got 60% over the 40. We'll switch. Friday we'll keep the spooky. Saturday we'll put this up. How's that? That's a fair. So Saturday, this is going up. All right? And Friday we'll keep the spooky one. There you go. Thank you very much for the vote. Thank you for your feedback. I like that. That's awesome. I appreciate that. All right. So that's there. And of course, Sundays and Wednesdays we'll have the mirror, the Christ, the stained glass one. All right. See, this is what's cool about this. You know what I mean? So we'll put the spooky up on Fridays. I promise you. Thank you. All right. And by the way, for those of you offering gifts to the ministry, and I apologize if I don't say thank you. It's just I do have the show now running on 3 different computers, one over here, and one over here. So if I don't thank you, I apologize. I truly do. Okay. I'm going to leave the chat on. And if you subscribe, that's wonderful too. So I'm going to leave the chat on for this hour. So let's just be kind, on TikTok. All right. Near-death experience, everybody. I had the honor of having the opportunity to speak with Dr. Jeffrey Long. Now, Dr. Jeffrey Long is, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, is one of the world's leading expert on near-death experiences. And I've had him on 2 or 3 times on the show. And I'm going to play a couple of sound bites that I had when I had him on my show. And so you can hear it from his mouth. And I think you're going to really enjoy what he has to say, what he really has to say. So let's do this now. The question that I ask, of course, is what is an NDE? And NDE is a near-death experience. Okay. So for those of you who want to know, that's what we're referring to. Anytime we say NDE, we're talking about near-death experience. And by the way, I had a near-death experience, which I'm going to talk to you guys about. I'm going to tell you all about it. For those of you who've never heard this, I'm telling you, you need to stick around. Because I always had a strong faith in God and definitely a strong faith in the afterlife. But I got to tell you something, when I had my own NDE, all it did is it validated what I already knew. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So yeah. So again, if I don't say hello to you guys, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's just I have a lot of chat rooms open right now. So I asked Dr. Long, what is an NDE? What is it? And this is what he said. First of all, well, actually, if I can, turn it off. There we go. Sorry about that. My bad. I have to turn this on so you guys can hear it. Come on. Oh, come on. I don't you hate it when the darn thing says it can't connect? It was connecting just fine. I think it's my sister playing my sister Shannon playing games. God love her. Shannon, All right, let's see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll just bring the phone up and you guys will hear it that way. But I'd rather play it over here instead. Nope, not going to do it. Okay. Fine. No, this is not a live show. No problem. No problem, technology.
Connector queue.
Okay, well, why didn't you say it a minute ago there? Thank you. Yeah. That's right. Thank you there, Miss Judy Ann. Let me do this right now. See, I've been so rushed today. I have an announcement to make, and Judy Ann just reminded me. Let me find it, because you guys are you're going to want to know about this one. The Gates of Hell documentary is complete. It is done. And I'm going to try to find it so that I can open it up for everybody. There it is right there. So let me do this. I hope I don't delete it. Option. Hold on, everybody. I've got to try to figure out how I can, because it was unshareable. So now I've got to figure out how to do this. So details. There it is, unlisted. No, let's make it public. There we are. And sure, sounds good. All right, now, so the Gates of Hell documentary is done. And I'm going to change it right now so it can be shared for everybody so that everybody can see it. And share. There we go. And save. Why did you keep changing it to unlisted? TikTok. Visibility. Public. Done. Save. There it is. Now, there we go. There it is. So here's what you need to do. You need to go to my website, bishopjameslong.com. bishopjameslong.com. I'll get to near-death experience eventually. But bishopjameslong.com, scroll down to where it says Bishop Long's official YouTube account. If you click that, and there it is. Right there, you'll see Gates of Hell documentary. It's about 41 minutes, almost 42 minutes long. I truly appreciate, by the way, Miss Judy Ann helping me with that. So I appreciate that. Was very kind of her that she did. And Judy Ann served as a fantastic executive producer. So thank you there, Miss Judy Ann. So take a look. Watch it afterwards. Yeah, just go to bishopjameslong.com. I mean, don't go now. just don't go now. Just you have something to watch later. But bishopjameslong.com, and then you will see where it says Gates of Hell documentary. And I would love your feedback. Be nice. I'm not a, come on. I do the best I can with the limited knowledge that I have. So, but I would love your feedback. Okay. Yeah. Stay with us. Don't leave. It's there for you. It's there for you. Okay. It is on YouTube. Yep. But just go to bishopjameslong.com, scroll down to where it says social media links, and you'll see my YouTube channel. Click that link. Don't forget to subscribe, because I'm going to put more videos up there, by the way. That's only going to be on YouTube. So make sure you go to that site, to my YouTube, and subscribe if you would. And but watch Gates of Hell, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. Okay. Near-death experience. Let's go. So I asked Dr. Jeffrey Long, how would he describe what is a near-death experience? And this is what he said.
First of all, from a medical perspective and from your perspective, what is a near-death experience?
Good question.
Well, as the name implies, you're near death. In other words, you're unconscious or maybe clinically dead with no heartbeat and no respiration. These people are truly having a close brush with death when they nearly die. Now, at the time, they're unconscious from that life-threatening event. And if you look at the dictionary, unconscious means no possible memory, no possible recollection. You are or non-conscious. And yet that at that time, when it should be impossible, they absolutely do have that experience, part of the near-death experience. Again, while no two near-death experiences are the same, if you study many, and I'm coming up on having studied 3,000, they have a very typical pattern of elements that you see over and over throughout many near-death experiences and literally all around the world.
What typically happens?
Okay, not yet. Hold on, James. Now, here's what's interesting about that. Dr. Long is an American author and researcher, this is from Wikipedia, into the phenomena of near-death experience. He is a physician, by the way, by training, and Dr. Long practices radiation oncology at a hospital in Kentucky. And he is the author of Evidence of the Afterlife, The Science of Near-Death Experiences. It appeared in the New York Times bestseller list. And in 1998, he founded the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. So look, he is a medical doctor, and some of the information that he presents is absolutely phenomenal. And because a lot of people will immediately dismiss their near-death experiences and say, well, it doesn't exist. It's just oxygen left in the brain. We're going to talk about that, by the way. We're going to have that conversation about people who are the naysayers, and I get it. I understand. Nothing wrong with people questioning the validity of something, but there's a difference between, again, being, questioning this and then being sarcastic and just ridiculously rude, which some people are when it comes to the idea that these things do occur, which they do. Well, absolutely they do. So let me go. NDERF, by the way, is devoted to the study of near-death experience. So if you want to go to a website, nderf.org, O-R-G, I'm telling you, it is one of the best, if not the best website that you're going to find on near-death experiences. nderf.org. Thank you there, Monson. And this website is devoted to the study of near-death experience and support of those experiencing near-death experience and related experiences. So the NDERF website is currently near the highest ranked website among the major search engines for the term near-death experience. And this website has over a dozen original near-death experience research papers posted. It's a major project of NDERF is to translate NDEs, which is near-death experiences, and NDE-related material into foreign languages, which, by the way, they've done. Now, currently, from my understanding, NDEs is now available in 23 different languages under this website. That's phenomenal. So researchers from over 100 different foreign countries access NDERF website monthly. And over 300,000 pages are read on the website every single month. So if you have not checked it out, do yourself a favor and go look at it. Although most people who have come to death say they remember nothing, around 10 to 20% later report that something happened. And that something is often a near-death experience, otherwise known as NDE. And NDEs, by the way, are relatively common, which is interesting because I did not know that until I started doing my own research on this. A Gallup poll published in 1982 led to an estimate that 12 to 15 million Americans personally experience an NDE, which is about 5% of those surveyed. Now, please understand, an out-of-body experience is a bit different than an NDE. So there are people who claim that they can meditate and they can have an out-of-body experience. That is one thing. But an NDE is someone who is either clinically dead or, quite honestly, they're so near death and they have these amazing experiences and they come back and they're able to tell us about it. I am one of them. And again, I'll talk to you about my NDE and what I had. And it was quite powerful, really, really powerful. Well, see, that's the thing. Belladonna says, yes, and they are just projections from the mind during cardiac arrest. That before I had my own personal NDE, and before I began to study it several years ago, I would kind of agree with you. But now that I've done my own study and I've talked to Dr. Jeffrey Long, who is a world-leading expert and a medical doctor, I now have a different perspective on it. And perhaps maybe you will too. But let me give this presentation. I'll answer questions in just a second. But let me just give you this presentation, and then we'll talk about it and see what you think about this. Because here's the deal: death is something that affects all of us. So it directly relates to you just as much as it relates to me, where we all have that moment, that time where we're all going to breathe our last breath. Now, there is some controversy as to how to define an NDE. Now, researchers have not reached a consensus on how to define it. The research definition that I have used is that an NDE must occur at the time of near death, like a physical compromise so severe that without improvement, immediately irreversible death would occur. So NDEers are generally unconscious and often clinically deceased at the time of their NDE. Now, again, I know what people are going to say. It is just the remaining oxygen in the brain, and the person is having a hallucination. That's not altogether true. See, NDEs may occur in adults or children, and they occur in atheists and believers. They occur in physicians, scientists, ministers, priests, people from all walks of life. And NDEs have been reported throughout history. The earliest recorded NDE, by the way, was from the time of Plato and from cultures all around the world. So this is not something that is a new phenomena. This has actually occurred for many, many years, centuries. An important point is that you do not have to have physically passed away. So in other words, without cessation of breathing or heart function, to have an experience like an NDE. So experiences seemingly identical to NDE associated with clinical death have been reported in a variety of circumstances in which there is no associated life-threatening event. And such circumstances may include, like, for example, non-fatal traffic accidents or mountaineering accidents, childbirth. These are all people who have experienced like an out-of-body experience, but that's someone different, something different with an NDE. And for those of you who are asking to come on, I wish I could bring you onto the screen. I can't because no one would be able to hear or see you because I have 3 different computers running at the same time. So experiences similar to NDE are relatively common in terminally ill patients. Now, they're often referred to as deathbed visions. And these experiences may collectively be referred to as like an NDE-like experience. NDEs are one part of a spectrum of significant human experiences. An experience can be deeply significant and meaningful to the experiencer without meeting the strict definition of an NDE. Okay, so what is clear is that the NDE is not a dream. It is not a hallucination or a mental psychiatric dysfunction. They are actual, real experiences. Virtually all NDE experiencers that this website has encountered felt that the experience was real, it was significant, and meaningful. And when asked directly if the experience was dreamlike in any way, virtually all NDE experiencers were polled, answered no. So this is really important. Again, this is not a dreamlike. Mine was not a dream. I know the difference between a dream and reality. It was just as real as I'm sitting here right now talking to you about this. There was no difference. I know what a dream is. See, there's a lot of people who've had an NDE. So a near-death experience has been extensively documented in medical literature, with hundreds of scholarly articles regarding NDE published in the medical scientific literature. Thank you. Now, skeptics of NDE have not been able to find a plausible biological or physiological explanation for NDE. And that failure on the part of the skeptics explain the large number of generally unaccepted alternative explanations. Now, the reason there are so many skeptical explanations of NDE is that there are no one or several physiological, biological, cultural explanations that make sense. So the level of consciousness during this experience is generally described as fully alert. And even on the website, it says one experiencer described far more conscious than humanly normal. So these experiences seem quite apart from anything encountered. So I have, yeah. So Strudel's asking, have you noticed that people who survived NDE are not afraid of death? Yes. It is really interesting because I've actually spoken to people who have a near-death experience who experience something other than heaven. And that scared them so much that they changed their entire life. I mean, they completely changed their life. So, I mean, they were terrified. And when NDEers surveyed, they were asked, following the experience, have you had any other events in your life, medications or substance, which produced any part of the experience? almost 81% answered no. So that it does remove the idea that this is a hallucination. Now, the website says we are impressed with both the similarities and dissimilarities of NDE experiences. While some experiencers have a detailed and prolonged experience, others have a shorter and less dramatic experience. And it says we all believe that all NDEers experience are significant and important. And it's true. Here's what's interesting as well. People have had dreams of their NDE experience. Yeah. But the NDE, the near-death experience itself was not a dream. And again, it was certainly not a dream that I had. And no two NDE experiences are identical. But within a group of experience, certain patterns become evident, which is really interesting. There was a research that they done on the website based on over 2,000 NDEs shared on this website. And here's what's fascinating. NDE experiences describe one or more of the following: difficulty in explaining the NDE. So these extraordinary experiences may be difficult to describe in words. Yes, I will agree with that. And later on, I'll tell you why. Associated life-threatening event. So there is generally physical compromise to the point of unconsciousness or even clinically deceased. A separation of consciousness from the body, 100%, that's what I experienced. So viewing their surroundings from a vantage point other than the physical body, some may see their bodies in often frantic resuscitation efforts. They are generally able to hear what is being said, often to the considerable embarrassment of medical personnel involved in the resuscitation. And in the out-of-body state, they're not able to interact physically with anything or anyone. I agree. Happened to me. There's often a sense of peace and virtually never discomfort. Yep. In my case, I didn't even know I was the patient. The ability to see and hear details of ongoing earthly events, which may be close or distant from the body, while unconscious. So this is what people have. So for those people who are naysayers, they can't explain this. These details, which may include a pronouncement of death, are often later confirmed by others who are generally astonished and mystified that the experiencer was aware of these events while unconscious. And on this website, they even have a few NDEs where NDEer was on the way to the morgue or actually in the morgue when they regain consciousness after their NDEs. Experiencing intensely powerful emotions. Yes. So some people say these emotions may include ecstasy, fear, peace, and calm. Most NDEs are associated with very pleasant emotions, but there are about 5%, according to this website, are frightening. And it should be noted that positive life changes are usually associated with these things. Hearing distinctive sounds that occurred to me as well. So experiencers may report hearing a variety of unusual sounds or noise, and they may be described as pleasant or musical buzzing or ringing, passing into and through a dark tunnel. Sort of in mind, but not fully. A lot of people will say the tunnel is variable to describe regarding its apparent size. And what's interesting is that I have claustrophobia. I hate tight squeeze places. But people who are also claustrophobic, they never really talk about how they felt claustrophobic in this tunnel. And movement in the tunnel may be described as relatively slow or extremely fast. And occasionally another being accompanied this tunnel passage, though usually it's traveled alone. And there's a bright light that is seen at the end of the tunnel. And a tunnel experience, by the way, is described as 34% of people who have had near-death experience describe. Okay, we're not doing. You're rude. Go away. Block. I'm getting rid of that person. People who experience that say that they've seen this. You have. You had a near death. There's a lot of people. A lot of people have. Now, some people say encounter with a bright mystical light. 100%. Oh, Deborah says a bright, comfortable light too. I saw that as well. The light may be without form, is often perceived as being either or a spiritual being, a departed loved one. Yep. There's usually associated an intense feeling of love and joy and peace with that encounter. The light may be seen as a distance and then coming towards you. 65%, by the way, of people who have near-death experience have said that they've experienced that light. Meeting others, which I did. The experiencer may encounter other spiritual beings or departed loved ones, like deceased pets. So, for those of you, folks, for those of you who are concerned about whether or not you're going to see your little fur baby in heaven, I'm telling you, Revelation makes it clear that animals will be in heaven. And there have been many near-death experience stories where people were clinically deceased and they saw their fur babies. This happens quite often. Matter of fact, deceased pets have been the encounter with others is generally described as joyous and loving. And 58% have reported that. Now, some people say that there is a life review. I did not get a life review in mine. At times, experiences are presented with a rapid panoramic view of their life. And this life review may include brief reviews of moments of their past life. I actually had that one time where my life flashed before my eyes. But this was because we thought we were going to be in a plane crash. So this was when I was in the seminary, and I went up to Minnesota to visit one seminary, and then I went down to Chicago to visit another. So on my way from Minnesota to Chicago, it was the middle of the night, like 9:00 at night, and we were in a 50-seater jet. And there was a terrible storm. I mean, it was terrible. There were tornadoes. It was really a bad situation. This was, gosh, I think back in 1999, maybe 2000, somewhere around then. And we were flying, and the lightning was so bad and all around us that it was like 3:00 in the afternoon because it lit up the entire sky. And there was a loud pop in the plane, and the emergency lights on the row came on, and it was just silent. You didn't hear the jets. You didn't hear the engine. No engines, no auxiliary power unit. Everything was off. The flight attendant ran from the back to the front, and she came on the intercom and said, "We've lost power. Prepare for our landing, a hard landing, the crash landing. Heads down, stay down. Heads down, stay down." They kept screaming, and I looked over to the right, and I saw the trees and houses, and they were probably maybe 50 feet. Maybe, and I thought, well, we're not even close to the airport. Not even close. We're going to crash, and because we had no power, and it was very fast. I could see myself as a baby all the way to really fast, and I said, "Okay, Father, I'm ready to come home." And as soon as I made my peace. And we jerked back. I mean, jerked back in our seats because the engines came back on, and that captain hit the. Thank God, because the auxiliary power unit kicked back on, and we took off, and we landed. We landed hard, and we landed really hard. But we were just glad to be on the ground. But I had that one time where I had a life review, I guess, but it wasn't really a review. It was just a life flash before my eyes. That was scary. But some people actually say that they have had an actual life review. Some people report seeing or visiting beautiful locations. I did not. Now, my sister Shannon, who has passed away, she did say on her near-death experience story, she did say that she was walking with Jesus in a garden, and the flowers were this radiant joy. It was beautiful. I mean, it was so bright, and it was almost as if they were alive. That's how she would describe them. There's also a sense of knowing universal order and purpose. Some people say that, or reaching a boundary, like you can't go any further. So either the loved one says, "Hey, you got to go back," or Jesus says you have to go back. Some people report awareness of future life events. I did not. Some people report a decision to return. Okay, do you want to go back or do you want to stay? Now, what's interesting is, for those of you who don't know, Annalise McKell, or otherwise Emily Rose, the exes of Emily Rose, many people believe that she had a near-death experience when she was near death. She was 80 pounds, by the way, when she passed away. It was terrible what they did to her. And so, and she was asked, do you want to stay or do you want to leave? And she chose to stay. So that was not in my situation. Returning to the body, that did occur to me. Some people say special gifts, like meaning that you have, some people say you have the gift of psychics and mediumship, etc. Changes of attitudes and beliefs. A lot of people, the people that I've spoken to have all said this. So I asked Dr. Long, what typically happens during a near-death experience? And this is what he said.
What typically happens during a near-death experience?
Now, while no two near-death experiences are the same, a typical detailed near-death experience would go something like this. Of course, there's that life-threatening event. They may be unconscious or even clinically dead. But at that time, while they're that close to death, very often they have what's called an out-of-body experience. Their consciousness separates from their body and typically goes above the body. And I'm seeing they can see, hear, and understand the world apart from their physical body. And when they're in that vantage point, consciousness over their body, they can see ongoing earthly events, including very often dramatic efforts at resuscitating themselves, their own physical body, the frantic efforts of their healthcare team or others around them trying to bring them back to life. Following that, these people that have near-death experiences may go into or through a tunnel, which is variably described. At the other end of the tunnel, there's often a brilliant light. While the light has some variability in how it's described, it never hurts the eyes or is harmful to look at. In fact, one near-death experiencer said it was like 1,000,000 times 1,000,000 suns, but that didn't hurt the eye. A strikingly common thing observed during near-death experiences is overwhelmingly powerful positive emotions, feelings of love, connectedness, peace. People say that they're far beyond anything that they've ever experienced on Earth. On the, if you will, other side, there may be beautiful landscapes. They describe colors and beautiful scenes that are beautiful beyond anything on Earth, even colors that don't exist on Earth. There may be buildings or cities. They may encounter deceased people that they knew when they lived their earthly life. These are not scary or haunting type re-encounters. These are joyous reunions. There's often a great deal of communication and sharing, and if that person who died was in poor health or very debilitated before they die, almost always in the near-death experience, they're picture-perfect health. And yes, deceased pets are fairly common in near-death experiences also. There may be a life review where they see a portion or even all of their prior life. And then very often near the end of the experience, often when they're with some other spiritual beings, they may be given a choice to return to Earth or to stay in this, if you will, heavenly, blissful realm that they exist in. That's often a dramatic discussion. The great majority of people that have a decision about returning to Earth or staying in this unearthly realm, even though the earthly life is all that they knew up until then. They may have lived years or decades, have friends, family, loved ones, and yet the great majority of near-death experiencers do not want to leave that realm that they are in at that time, that realm that is very, I think, aptly called the heavenly realms. So it's, in a nutshell, near-death experiences.
Yeah, and what he was saying,
so,
folks, what he was saying was not that there's no colors on Earth. What he was saying is that many people, like my sister, when she was describing her near-death experience, she said the colors, it was like they came alive. It's like they were breathing. She said, I can't explain it to you. I just cannot. It's like they had a life of their own. So it was, she said they were purples and blues and yellows. But she said, I can't really even describe the colors to you because when I say purple, but it was a different type of purple. So that's what he was referring to. And a lot of people actually have said that, that they experienced that type of powerful experience. And of course, the question that I asked Dr. Long, again, that was Dr. Long, Dr. Jeffrey Long, who is a world-leading expert on near-death experience when I had him on the show previously. You probably have seen him he's been on television and things of this nature doing interviews on near-death experience. So my one question that I asked him about, well, what about geographically speaking? I mean, because a lot of people say is there a, is it based on geographical? Because some people say, well, in this culture, it's probably more prevalent than this culture. So I asked him that, and this is what he said.
So geographically speaking, culturally speaking,
Yep.
Time and history, etc.
Yep.
Do we know who has or who has had near-death experiences, who have them?
The first, a good point, they've been recorded throughout written history for literally several millennia. In fact, the first near-death experience ever recorded was reported by Plato, and that was a soldier named spelled E-R, who was killed in battle, or so they thought. He was placed on top of the funeral pyre, which was basically a large pile of logs, which is how they handled the deceased in that era. And right before they were going to light it, he miraculously came back to life and almost immediately started talking about his dramatic, vivid experience in an unearthly realm. And he described for the first time in recorded history a near-death experience.
Oh, wow. So let's go all the way. This is pretty far back, though. We're talking all the way back
over 2,000 years. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's way back. I mean, and then throughout century after in medieval era, there's been a cluster reported number of near-death experiences that are centuries old. Now, of course, don't forget, we didn't know at the time, centuries ago, that these were near-death experiences. We only knew that when the term near-death experience was coined by Dr. Raymond Moody in 1975 in his book Life After Life. Then all of a sudden, people could look back retrospectively to these publications centuries, decades ago and go, oh, my gosh, that's what they're describing, near-death experiences. Now we had a term and an understanding for these dramatic experiences described in antiquity.
Very cool. So that really is cool. And I think that's important to understand, and especially with how many people have had it. How many people have had a near-death experience? I asked him that question as far as how many people have had an NDE. And this
now,
is what
from your perspective, of course, your research as well, how many people have had an NDE?
Well, there's some, certainly for okay, let me back up. Probably the most widely quoted source to address your question directly is a Gallup poll that was published in 1982 that estimated that perhaps as many as 5% of adults in the United States had a near-death experience at some time in their life. That's probably a little bit overstated. There's no doubt near-death experiences are not rare. There's probably at least several percent of the population, both in the United States and worldwide, that's had a near-death experience.
Okay. And now Miss Wilma asked, because Miss Wilma had a situation where she had a procedure, and then she remembers seeing this really bright light. And Miss Wilma asked this question too, God love her. So this is what because Miss Wilma was concerned. It's like, did I have an NDE? Miss Wilma, God love her, she gets worried. And so this is for those of you who've had a near death or a bright light experience, like you come out of surgery and you see this bright light, does that mean that you passed away? That's what she was concerned about. And so this is what he said.
Okay, you're in the emergency room, and everything, you got your eyes closed because you're really, really sick. And then when you open your eyes, there's this nothing but a bright, bright light. You're saying that is close to death?
Nope, not at all. And I'll tell you why. Of course, being a doctor, I'm well aware of lights. If someone opens their eyes, like returning from consciousness in the emergency room, they may see only light. However, there's a couple of key distinctions between that circumstance and the light during near-death experiences. First of all, in the emergency room, recovering from unconsciousness, if they see sort of light and that's all they see, they're generally very confused. They're very slowly starting to regain their normal everyday consciousness. I mean, things that are just not registering what's really in the room around them, the people, the ceiling, everything else, and so they just see lights. You never see that in near-death experiences. This isn't confusional consciousness in near-death experiences. The level of consciousness and alertness of NDEs, and we survey them directly about this, is generally significantly higher than their earthly everyday consciousness. Further, the light in near-death experiences is typically described as unearthly. In other words, it's not like anything that exists on Earth. And in fact, the light may have a sense of an energy, a personality of being, or they may feel emotions from this light, typically described as overwhelmingly intense love and compassion. You never, and believe me, never encounter that when you're coming out of consciousness and people just grow into returning from unconsciousness in the emergency room, slowly start to become aware of an earthly light?
That's a terrific question. That really is a really terrific question, because a lot of people and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Long, but a lot of people, when they talk about their near-death experience and seeing this light actually takes on a personality. It actually takes on an emotion of like complete and total love, like you're being embraced. Yeah. Almost like the emotion is so overwhelming and warmth that it's what I have read is it's like being on the sunniest, most wonderful day in just everything just illuminating around you, and it's all total overwhelming peace and love, not confusion.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Gosh, you have been reading a lot of the near-death experience accounts, because that is absolutely true. That's very consistently discussed in near-death experience accounts. Also, we ask near-death experiencers directly, have you encountered anything in your earthly life that reproduced any element of their near-death experience? And don't forget, of course, they spent times in hospitals and recovering from what nearly killed them, and other times in hospitals at different times in their life, but almost never. In fact, I can't even recall a single time where they would have had some medical encounter other than another near-death experience, which they thought reproduced in any way any part of their near-death experience.
Right. And so the thing is, guys, and again, that was Dr. Jeffrey Long. He's a world-leading expert on near-death experience. So my near-death experience, and I talked to him about this. We were live on the air, and he said, James, I am absolutely convinced you had a near-death experience. And this is why. This is what happened. I'll tell you the story. And then I'm going to talk to you about why he thinks there's absolute proof, conclusive proof, that this is not just the brain passing away and just having the oxygen remaining left in the brain. There's a brain activity. No. And I'll tell you why in a moment. So I had to have an upper scope done. I had a lot of issues with the stomach at one time. And so I had to have a scope done. And at that time, I was kind of concerned about it. And my mom had passed away when I had this. So it was in 2014, she passed away. In 2015, I had the scope. And everything was fine. The surgeon was fantastic, no problems. But I remember going back into the operating room. Everything was fine. He's like, we're going to give you this propofol and knock you out, and you'll wake up, and there it is. Okay. I remember a loud noise behind me. I opened my eyes, and for some reason, I couldn't turn around to find out what that noise was, because it was kind of like, that's annoying. It never dawned on me ever, never, ever. Yeah, it never dawned on me that I was the patient. Never. And I looked over to my left, and I saw the doctor. He was panicked. I mean, he was panicked. And I wanted to be able to, my concern was to calm him down, because it's like, dude, how can I help you? I mean, you're freaking out. What can I do to help? Tell me what I need to do. But I couldn't communicate with him. I could not, I just couldn't do it. And I wanted to be able to help, because he was so stressed. And again, it never dawned on me that I was the patient, ever. And so I looked at this doctor wanting to calm him down. And again, as cliche as it is, but there was a massive bright light that appeared right behind the surgeon. But it was so, I mean, it wasn't an evil light or blind. It was bright, very bright. And I saw a silhouette come right behind him, and it was a woman. And as she got closer and closer, and she looked like an angel. I mean, she looked beautiful, beautiful. I mean, and her face was radiating. I mean, she was everything about her was just radiating. It was light, bright. I mean, just everything, and joy. I can't describe the joy. I just cannot describe the happiness, the bliss, but even bigger than that. And I looked closer, and originally I thought this was an angel. And I looked closer, and I thought, that's Mom. I mean, she looked like she was in her 20s, just radiating joy. And I remember she put her right hand on his shoulder. The surgeon then took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and then he said something. I don't know what he said. I just know that he gestured somebody behind me, and that noise went off. And she smiled at me. She simply nodded her head and smiled, and she faded away. Now, when I finally came to in consciousness, when I was alert, my sister Jennifer was there, and I was like, Jennifer, I saw mom, I saw her. And she was like, we know you saw mom. You were screaming you saw mom all the way from the operating room to the recovery room. We heard you. You wouldn't stop. You were screaming it. Now, I have no memory of that, obviously, because I was still under anesthesia. But I was telling her, I saw her. And I explained to her everything that happened. And what was odd is when they were taking me down to leave, the operating room nurse was there. And I thought, that's really strange. Why are you wheeling me down in a wheelchair? You're the operating room nurse. I mean, they have porters for this. And she's like, sir, I'm required to walk you down. And so I told her in the elevator, said, I know something happened. Something happened. I saw my mom. And she said, I can't talk to you about that. You have to speak to your surgeon. That was it. But I thought that was very odd that she took me down. So I talked to Dr. Long about this. And so this is what he said. A couple things. He said, first of all, there is a 0% chance of dreaming under propofol. Science, for those of you who always love science and say, well, it's science. Well, science says 0% chance. You cannot dream in propofol. You don't go into REM, which is rapid eye movement. And that is according to Dr. Long as well. So science says, for those of you who love science, you can't dream. Doesn't happen, 0% chance. And he said also, because you were still under anesthesia, there's no way you could have faked that because you were still not fully aware of your faculties or what you were doing, what you were outwardly doing. So you could not have faked going from the operating room to the recovery room screaming that you saw your mom and saying, well, I'm just going to make this up and lie. And he said, you couldn't have done it. You're still on a propofol. And also, my mom worked in cardiology. So he thinks that there was some type of cardiac event. And when she placed her hand on his shoulder and he took that breath, that was her way of kind of helping him. And by the way, he said that loud noise that you heard, that was the anesthesiologist machine going off. When you flatline, the anesthesiologist machine goes off and it makes a really, really loud noise to alert people, to alert the doctors. And he said that is exactly what happened. See, he said there's no question in my mind you had a near-death experience. Now, look, people, again, so we've already clarified you can't dream on propofol, 0% chance. I know the difference between a dream and reality. I'm not ignorant. I think most of us do know the difference between a dream. Even the real vivid dreams, I still know the difference. So one time I had a really vivid dream that I won the lottery. Woohoo! And then I woke up. But I do know, I can still, years after the dream, I can still say, yep, that was a dream. I got to do this little puzzle here on TikTok. There we go. And I think, by the way, Instagram, it may cut us off. If it does, I'll start Instagram right back up. So after an hour, sometimes it cuts us off. If it does, I'll come right back on. So just bear with me on that. What I experienced was not a dream. And if it wasn't, well, first of all, you can't dream on propofol. So I can't even say, and if it was a dream, I would tell you it's a dream. I can't even say that because you can't dream. But I do know that when I came back from the recovery room and I was screaming, I saw mom, Jennifer's like, the whole world knows you. I mean, I was apparently screaming it at the top of my, and I was kept over. I saw mom. That 100%, I saw mom. I saw her without question. And it was unbelievably powerful. It was, but the joy, the joy that was on her face I just cannot, there's no way to describe it. And, but I know I know that I did see my mom, and Jennifer and everybody else knows that I saw my mom. It was a powerful experience. It was a powerful experience. So people who want to say, well, you can't have it. You can't have it. It's all just the mind. It's all just the brain, dying, and you have oxygen remaining left in the brain. That is a big no way. Because even if you're going to argue this, I could not have faked that from going to the operating room to the recovery room. But listen to this. Dr. Long, he says there are 9 lines of evidence that actually show without question that near-death experience is valid. Let me tell you what they are. The book is Evidence of the Afterlife, the Science of Near-Death Experiences. So number 1, the first, a crystal clear consciousness. Yes. He said the level of consciousness and alertness during the NDE is usually even greater than that experience in everyday life, even though the NDEs generally occur when a person is unconscious or clinically dead. And this high level of consciousness, while physically unconscious, is medically inexplicable. And additionally, the elements in NDEs generally follow the same consistent and logical order in all age groups around the world, by the way, which refutes the possibility that NDEs have any relation to dream or hallucinations. Because if it was just a dream or hallucination, then they wouldn't have a common denominator. And they do. Secondly, the realistic out-of-body experience. So OBE, out-of-body experience, are one of the most common elements of NDEs. What NDEers see and hear on earthly events in the out-of-body state is almost always realistic. And when the NDEer and others later seek to verify what was observed or heard during the NDE, the out-of-body experience observations are almost always confirmed and accurate. Even if the OBE of observations during the NDE included events far from the physical body. For example, for those of you who are going to say it's all just the brain dying, it's no big deal, then explain this. There have been cases, Dr. Jeffrey Long reported this, where someone clinically passed away, clinically died on the operating room. This person left her body, floated up, and she was able to then look at her body on the operating room, on the table, not realizing that it was her. But here is what you can't explain for those of you who are going to say it doesn't exist. On top of the really bright light that they have in the operating room are like serial numbers on the very top of it. She was able to remember those numbers. Now, this is on the top, so you can't see it when you're laying down and you're looking up. This is on top of it on the other side of the light. When she came back to unconsciousness, she was able to tell the nurse, write this down, and she told them the serial number that was on top of that light. So for all those of you who are saying this is just the brain dying away, incorrect. That doesn't explain it. Does not explain it. And by the way, that was verified. Dr. Jeffrey Long verified that case. He validated it because he checked into it. He wanted to find out if it was true. Now, which that's unbelievable. There have also been cases where people were clinically deceased. And I have talked, because as you know, when I did chaplaincy or do chaplaincy at the hospital, and I'm very active, I have spoken to people who were clinically dead. Their family was outside arguing about what they're going to do with the remains of their loved one. Some part of the family wanted to cremate. Other parts said, no, we're going to have a funeral. They're going to be buried. And they had a fight. This person who was clinically deceased came back to life. And then as soon as they came back to life, their family was around them. Oh my gosh, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. And the very first thing they said is, I want to be buried. And they told them, that the person who deceased told the family member that you guys were fighting like cats and dogs. So I want this fixed immediately. They were stunned. Now, I met a person who had that experience, and they told me they were very animated. They were absolutely, there's no way that our brain just dying away from oxygen, you're not going to be able to leave your body, go downstairs and watch your family fight over what they're going to do with the remains of the body. You can't explain it. See? So that is unbelievable. That's powerful. So this fact alone, by the way, rules out the possibility that near-death experiences are related to any known brain functioning or sensory awareness. It also refutes the possibility that NDEs are unrealistic fragments of memory of the brain. So that's what some people say. Well, it's just your brain, redoing. Nope. Heightened sense. Yeah, there's a good movie at that. Heightened senses. Not only are heightened senses reported by most who have experienced NDEs, mine was, normal or supernormal vision has occurred in those who significantly impaired vision. There was a case in Dr. Long's website. There was a person who was born blind, total blindness since birth, and they had an NDE. And when they came back, they were able to explain the colors that they saw. That cup was blue. That thing was red. This thing over here was green. This thing was yellow. That is medically inexplicable. You can't just, for those people, again, that's powerful. Heightened senses, we talked about. My allergies are killing me right now. Excuse me. Now, consciousness during anesthesia. So many NDEs occur while under general anesthesia at a time when consciousness experience is impossible. So some skeptics claim that these NDEs may be the result of too little anesthesia. But this ignores the fact that some NDEs result from anesthesia overdose. And additionally, the description of NDE differs greatly from that of one who experiences anesthetic awareness. So in other words, the content of NDEs that occur under general anesthesia is essentially indistinguishable from NDEs that did not occur under general anesthesia. A perfect playback. So life reviews in near-death experience include real events that previously took place in the lives of those having the experience. Family reunions. That occurs sometimes. And during an NDE, the people encountered are virtually always deceased and are usually relatives of the person having this experience. And sometimes they are even relatives who died before the NDE was even born. Children's experiences. The near-death experience of children, including very young kids who are too young to have developed concepts of death and religion, near-death experiences are essentially identical to those of other children and adults. So that, by the way, this refutes the possibility that the content of NDE is produced by pre-existing beliefs or even cultural conditioning. And the number 8, worldwide consistency. So near-death experiences appear remarkably consistent around the world and across many different religions and cultures. And NDEs from non-Western countries are incredibly similar to those that occur in people in Western countries. And then, of course, after effects. It is common for people to experience major life changes after having near-death experiences. And these after effects are often powerful, lasting, life-enhancing, and the changes generally follow a consistent pattern. It really is. It's really unbelievably powerful. And when you break things down like this, it just kind of like, my goodness gracious. But there's a lot of people who have had these experiences. I encourage you, if you want to learn more about this, go to nderf.org. So let me give you a couple of cases. There's a couple of cases that I saw that I wanted to share with you. This is an NDE website. I'm trying to find the name of the website. Can't find it, but I always like to give credit. Yeah, it's a website, but it's copyright 1995 PMH Atwater. So here's the deal. So an example of out-of-body component of the near-death experience is the case of Jasmine. Jasmine of Hull, Georgia. She passed away on the operating table during surgery in the late 1979. She said, I must say that this experience was quite unsettling to say the least. I was floating over my body. I could see and hear everything that was being said and done. I left the room for a short while and then returned to where my body lay. I knew why I passed away. It was because I couldn't breathe. And there was a tube down my throat, and the medical staff did not have an oxygen mask on my nose. I'd also been given too much anesthetic. She said, in my out-of-body state, I am using my mind to try and make my right arm and hand move. My arms are extended parallel of my physical body. I want my right and hand to move, anything to move. I was trying to pull the tube out of my mouth. I looked down at my face and tears were streaming, and one of the nurses blotted the tears from my face, but she didn't notice my breathing had stopped, nor did she see me next to her. She said, at this point, I'm trying really hard to make my physical arm move, but it's like my whole body is made of lead. Wow, that is... She said, I could see my spirit standing before me. My spirit was so beautifully perfect, dressed in a white gown that was loose, free-flowing, and below the knee. There's a case of Robin Michelle of Texas City, Texas. Says there was this overwhelming sense of love, experiences often encountered in the light. Her near-death experience episode took place in a hospital when she was between 1 and 2 months of age, both prematurely and with hyaline membrane disease. She was not expected to live. She said, my first visual memory was looking forward and seeing a brilliant, bright light, almost like looking directly at the sun. That's awfully young. I can't, to me now that's kind of crazy to have that type of memory. He says also that I found that both adults and children occasionally reported being greeted on the other side by animals. But it is the children who described an animal heaven. Some see even insisting that they must go through it before they can reach the heaven where people are. Several years before his passing, Bryce Bond, a famous New York City media personality turned parapsychologist, shared with me the story of what happened to him when he once collapsed after a violent allergic reaction to pine nuts, was rushed to the hospital. So he remembers suddenly passing through a long tunnel toward a brilliant light. Says, I hear a bark, and racing toward me is a dog I once had, a black poodle named Peppy. When I see him, I feel an emotional floodgate open. Tears fill my eyes. He jumps into my arms, licking my face, and as I hold him, he is real, more real than I've ever experienced him. He says, I can smell him, feel him, hear his breathing, sense his great joy at being with me again. He says, I put my dog on the ground and step forward to embrace my stepfather, when a very strong voice is heard in my consciousness. Not yet, it says. I scream out, why? Then this inner voice says, what you have learned, and whom have you helped? I'm dumbfounded. The voice seems to be from without as well as within. Everything stops for a moment. I have to think of what was asked of me. I cannot answer what I have learned, but I can answer whom I have helped. Wow. These are powerful. When you go there's so many scenarios that you could read online. It is truly powerful. Well, sleep paralysis is similar. But sleep paralysis is usually you're catatonic, and it's a terrifying event. So when you have a sleep paralysis episode, it's not always. Let me make this clear. Sleep paralysis is not always demonic, as everybody thinks that it is. It is not. Isolated sleep paralysis and recurrent isolated sleep paralysis is a natural phenomena that happens. I had a neurosurgeon on my show at one time, and he had said that if you are having recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, you should get tested for narcolepsy. But that's his medical opinion. But he's a neurosurgeon, so what happens with sleep paralysis, and the reason is that it's so frightening, and understandably so, is what will happen is you have, the way he described it is, our brain is the part where we dream. And when you are suddenly awake or going to sleep and something startles you, whatever that might be, then an image that your conscious is not aware of is projected. And so the subconscious is projected an image, whether it be a figure, a scary figure, whatever it might be. And for about 30 seconds, in essence, you're catatonic. You can't move. You can't say anything. But then the conscious part of the brain takes over the functions of the brain, and then you're able to talk. Now, that's not necessarily demonic, because if it is demonic, then you're going to have activity that occurs outside of sleep paralysis episodes. So you're going to have demonic infestation. So objects are going to be thrown, religious objects are desecrated, the hearings of growling, things of this nature. All of these manifestations are going to occur, or at least the majority of them, along with sleep paralysis. So if you're just having a sleep paralysis episode, but you're having no other manifestation at all, then I would certainly say that doesn't necessarily mean it's demonic. So, but isn't that powerful? I tell you, if you've never went to the website, I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to do so and check it out. So, yeah. From cut off Instagram. Thank you for discussing this. God bless you. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And well, so far it's keeping us on there, so I think we might be able to stay on Instagram because it hasn't cut us off yet, and we've been past the 1 hour mark, so I think we're good on Instagram. Okay. Listen to this. I looked at this episode, and I'm telling you, or this article. This is really interesting. Hey, I talked about this before about Bigfoot. So we're going from sleep paralysis right to Bigfoot. But hey, this is where we have our conversation. So for those of you, let me end sleep paralysis episode. For those of you who are frightened, you don't need to be. You don't need to be scared of death at all. You just don't need to be. I'm telling you, I give you my word. The experience that I had on my near-death experience, it was unbelievable, and it was powerful. It was a moment that I'll never forget ever, and I wanted to tell as many people as I possibly can about it because a lot of people are afraid of death, and you don't have to be. It is a truly, it is natural. You are what a lot of people ask me is, will we be aware? Will we have our conscience? Will we actually know that I'm here, I'm present? You know, the answer is yes, without question. Because I knew who I was when I saw my mom. And when I saw my mom, I knew who she was. So yes, absolutely, you will 100%, you will have your consciousness. There's some stories. Listen to this. Yeah, there's several. Our loved ones who have passed visit us in our dreams. I do believe that our loved ones can visit us. Yeah, it can be rewatched on my YouTube channel or on KGRADB Radio. If you want to go to kgradb.com and or my Facebook. So yeah, you can watch this. Yeah, absolutely. But here's what's interesting. This is a kind of a funny one. There was in a particular study, one man who had been in a deep coma later told a nurse, he had an NDE, told a nurse that he recognized her and that he saw where she had placed his dentures during the resuscitation efforts. He actually even described the cart where she placed them. And by the way, they were right there precisely as he described it. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, so you're in a coma, you're not awake. Hello. And you actually can describe the cart and exactly where this nurse put the cart. See, the naysayers can't they don't know how to answer that, things like this. Or there was a Melvin Morse and Kim Clark reported a woman who had knowledge of a shoe on a window ledge outside the hospital. The shoe was nowhere near the place that she had been resuscitated, by the way. She said she left her body. She saw the building, but it was next to a third floor office. So though the shoe could have been seen from a window after the woman's resuscitation, she had described it with such detail that it must have been viewed up close because her window wasn't viewing where the shoe was. It was on the other side. So she noticed that the shoe had a worn little toe and the shoelace was tucked beneath the heel. Now that's power. And she had a near-death experience. And by the way, the psychologist who interviewed the woman, her name was Kim Clark, had to crawl along the ledge outside to verify the claim. And the shoe was indeed there precisely as the patient described it. So Clark, the woman, said the only way the psychologist, the only way that she, the patient, could have had such a perspective was if she had been floating right outside and at very close range at the tennis shoe. The person says, I retrieved the shoe and brought it back to Maria. It was very concrete evidence for me. Concrete evidence. NDERF.org. ND, as in dog, ERF.org. That's the website. Also, listen to this. Raymond Moody also reports similar stories of vertical out-of-body experiences, including those who travel through walls to the waiting room where they see their relatives and friends. One patient reported seeing her young daughter wearing mismatched plaids, which was highly unusual, and then come back and the girl wasn't there, and she said, and she made the comment about her daughter wearing mismatched plaids. And another woman overheard her brother-in-law talking to a business associate in the hospital, a waiting room, in a very derogatory manner, was able to report this back to him later. That's Mar Lindsay. What happened to who? Yeah, Mar Lindsay, you have to tell me. You say what happened to her, please. What happened to who? I don't know what you're referring to. Yeah, I mean, Dr. Bruce Grayson, Department of Psychiatric Medicine at the University of Virginia, reported one woman's accurate description of the plaid shoelaces on a nurse participating in her resuscitation. And another patient from Dr. Grayson's study accurately described of his cardiac surgeon flapping his arms as if trying to fly during his open heart surgery. See, when you hear these stories like this, that to me it's quite powerful. But I already know. So, yeah, Deborah. Some people describe it. Some people, when they have an NDE, Dr. Long even said that there have been reports where people are more open to receptive or reception of clairaudience, clairvoyance. Some people have reported this. And it's pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful experience. But some people have said that, yep, when they have an NDE, well, thank you, that when they come back, they are having this ability. So I don't know. It's a powerful. But by the way, I was going to say this. Kentucky. Yep. Yeah, Shannon passed away. My sister passed away. Yeah, is that what you're referring to? Yeah, she passed away, and we had her funeral just this past Friday, and so yep, last Friday actually. And so she had been sick for about 6-7 years. She had been heart failure for quite some time, and so it was interesting. My sister Shannon. I remember she just kept telling me. She kept telling me she had, by the way, she had a near-death experience, and she described it. And Jesus. She said Jesus asked her quite one. Made one statement: "You've never done anything out of malice." And he said, "It's not your time, not your time." But she described the flowers that he walked in the garden, and there was flowers, the beautiful, the purple, the colors. But here, what's really interesting is that Shannon, my nephew, he's a young man, and he just graduated from high school, and that Shannon had been in heart failure for some time, and I remember she kept telling me, if I could just make it until he graduated from high school, if I could just make it until he graduates from high school. What was interesting, thank you there, Jennifer, thank you. he had contact my nephew had contacted me, Caleb, which is Shannon's son. And he said, look, I've been trying to get a hold of Shannon, my mom, for past 3 days. You know, I just graduated and I can't get a hold of her. So I said, all right, we need to call the police and we need to do a well check on and make sure, you know, what's going on. And the police got there. And in fact, she had passed, and she had recently passed. So what was really powerful about that is that she kept saying, if I could, I just want to stay until he graduates. I just want to stay until he graduates. He had just graduated and she passed. So, yeah. So, yeah, you can go, if you want to go to the church's website, usocc.org, and that's all the information is there for you. So if you want to check out that on the website. Yeah, it's powerful, powerful. Oh, by the way, yeah. She described everything to me in detail. By the way, folks, let me just say something really, really quick. We do not get paid as clergy. So we are having a retreat coming up at next year. It's not coming up, but it's in April of next year. And so we have 2 clergy members, Father Sean and Father Mark, who are coming in from different states, and they have to fly in. So if you would, we would appreciate that. That would be very, very kind of you. If you would please consider going to usocc.org, usocc.org. That is the website for the church. And there is a little button there that says retreat. And if you click on that, it will take you to their little information. And if you would like to make a donation, that would be great. But I mean, it's quite expensive for them to fly in, and we have some consecrations next year, and we want them to be present. We want them to, and we don't want the retreat to be financially burdened to anyone. So if you can, please go to that website and help out. We would appreciate that. Again, usocc.org. As I mentioned, we are not paid. So this ministry that I'm doing, it's 100% free. No stipend, no retirement. It's 100% free. And so if you can help, that would be wonderful. We would appreciate that. So, yeah. Well, yeah, he was wearing white. So again, if you can, that's wonderful. That's fantastic. Again, usocc.org. Click on the retreat button, and you'll see Father Sean and Father Mark's information, and they would appreciate that, and so would I. We definitely want them there. So thank you. Someone was asking about Sheol, and what is Sheol versus Gehenna? Well, Sheol is a word that is in Jewish tradition, and that refers to like the general abode of the dead. But it was not necessarily a place of punishment. So that's one thing that's important to understand. Now, Gehenna is used to solely describe a place of punishment to the wicked. Gehenna, by the way, even Jesus describes Gehenna. Gehenna, it was like a little valley where it was right next to Golgotha. Golgotha is where, obviously Christ was crucified. And what they did is often they would take the bodies from the crucifixion and they would launch them into this valley, Gehenna, and they would then burn the bodies. And so the stench was quite terrible. And so this is one of the reasons why Jesus refers to hell as like Gehenna, because they could understand it. It was dirty, it was filthy, it was smelly, it was fire. And that's where the difference between the two. So Judaism had a development in its understanding of the afterlife. Now, originally, Sheol was believed to be a place where all the dead went. And in later periods of Judaism developed the belief that in Sheol, the righteous and the wickedness they were separated. And we can see this in the Jesus in the parable about the rich man and Lazarus in Luke chapter 16, verse 19 through 31. And in early Jewish belief, it was actually it was thought possible to pass from the side of the wicked to the side of the righteous through the intercession of Abraham. But by the time of Christ, Judaism generally believed that it was not possible to pass from Sheol to the other side to Sheol. So hopefully that, and then of course now there's a lot of confusion, especially in Greek, because Greek would use the word Hades, is used in place of Sheol. And the modern person hears Hades and thinks hell. It's a place of eternal punishment. However, Hades is simply the Greek word that was used for Sheol, the abode of the dead. And so the concept of what it is exactly developed over time. Gehenna was a separate idea completely. Gehenna is not the same as Sheol or Hades at all. It's completely separate. It referred to only a place of punishment of the wicked. And it was never an abode of righteous souls. Okay. And so there we go. Hopefully that answers your question. Someone asked that earlier, and I wanted to make sure I got to that before I forgot. Yeah, again, you can go to usocc.org. USOCC that has all the questions. The FAQ has everything there. So Francis Marie said Francis Marie had a near-death experience, and they say that Jesus was wearing a red embellished robe. They say he saw his red robe and threads embroidering were made from gold. The closest thing I could think it had symbols were similar to fleur de lis. Interesting. I had an interesting situation with I don't know if it was a near-death experience or not. I don't think it was a more an out-of-body experience. But when I was read the book of Genesis, I've been very sick in a hospital. How would you interpret? Oh, I would read the book. So someone says, I had a dream where God talked to me and asked me twice to read the book of Genesis. I've been very sick in and out of the hospital. How would you interpret the dream? I would read the book of Genesis. I think through discernment, I think whatever it is that if you're struggling with something, perhaps maybe you might have an aha moment, that you didn't think about before. So I would listen to the Spirit. I had a dream. I was a kid, and I don't know, maybe I was 14, 15 years old or so. But I was living. Of course, I love the basement. So I had the basement all to my own because it was cooler. It was nice and cool. But I knew I wanted to be a priest when I was 5 years old. So I've always known that. So I had a first communion cross that was on the wall. And I remember waking up. So I was in the dream, and I remember waking up in the dream. And I looked over to my right, and there by the bookcase, there looked like somebody was laying on the cot, like on a cot. And so I remember getting up. Now I was dreaming. This was the dream. So I got up and I walked over to this person that was lying on the cot. And to me, it looked like Jesus. But here's what's interesting. So he had a white robe, gold sandals. His face was very much like a shark, like the color of a grayish color. He had a crown of thorns on, and he was bleeding, but his hands were on his chest like this. I remember his nails being a little long, little lengthy, and I remember, and I saw the marks here. By the way, Jesus was crucified here. He was not crucified in the palm, and in the Roman times, this was considered part of the hand. So this right here is considered part of the hand. So Jesus was crucified here. And the reason being is because the palm there's nothing here to hold the weight. So there are two bones. And the Romans were quite efficient, if you will, and with the crucifixion. And he would be crucified here because there were two bones that would hold the upper part of the body. So I remember seeing the marks right here. And I went to hold his hand because it was Jesus, but it was eerie. And he opened his eyes. His eyes were bloodshot red. He just simply sat up. He looked at me and he said, what the hell are you looking at? And obviously I knew this was not Jesus. So my first instinct was to grab the cross, the crucifix on the wall, my first communion crucifix. I grabbed it, and I remember holding it up against him. And he stood up, gave me this smirk. With his left hand, he grabbed the cross, and his hand started bleeding, but the cross turned into like black ash, and then it fell on the ground. And he smirked. He looked at me and he said, "Is that supposed to hurt me? I died on this stupid A thing." So I knew definitely, okay, this is not good. So I remember running upstairs, telling my mom. We called the parish priest. The parish priest came in like grease lightning, like within 2 seconds. And the priest was praying these prayers. And I remember this thing screaming in agony and pain, and him reaching his hand out. And in this dream, I felt terrible because this whatever it was in so much pain. And I felt sadness for this creature, even though clearly this creature was evil. I still felt sadness because it was in so much pain. So I remember reaching for the hand to try to offer some type of comfort. And then I remember I woke up from my dream sweating. I could not breathe. I was literally up in the bed, and I was trying to catch my breath. So I was completely, this is not catatonic. So this will not be a sleep paralysis episode, because I was completely awake and I had full control of my functions. And I looked over to the right, and there was this creature, that Jesus figure, that was right there. And the blood was dripping and hitting the floor. And the crucifix that was on the wall was actually off the wall, and I still have the crucifix, and the feet, the thing where the feet were, was off. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'll never forget the dream. I'll never forget it. Now I'm telling you that house was haunted. That house was haunted, and all my siblings will tell you that house was haunted, because it was. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was haunted. But it went away. Yeah, I mean, it went away. The stains were there, by the way. The stains were always there. And so, yeah, it was, I'll certainly never forget that. I don't know if that is a dream that was a foreshadowing of what I do now as an exorcist. I don't know. Yeah. No, I knew I wanted to be a priest when I was 5 years old. So I remember going into kindergarten. The teacher, it was a Friday, asked what we wanted to be and all that other stuff. And so we were at church, and my mom said, I remember going into the church, and my mom said, "What did you do for school on Friday?" And I told her, and she said, "Well, what did you tell him?" And I pointed at the priest and said, "I want to do what he does." So I knew at a very early age that I wanted to be a priest, very early. And then at age 9, I remember reading books on demonology. Now, of course, I didn't really know 100% of what I was reading, obviously, but I just knew that I could not put the books down. And many times I was at the library, because the library, we had a branch, like a neighborhood branch library. I was at the library a lot, and even worked there at one time. So yeah, it was just one of those things I just loved to read on, and it became a passion, a deep, deep passion of mine that has never gone away. So even today, I still read books on demonology, angelology, and it's very difficult to find credible sources. Not theologians. Oh gosh, it's been so long ago. I mean, even Thomas Aquinas and the Summa Theologica has a section on angels and demons. So I would encourage people to read that. Also, if you want A Hostage to the Devil by Malachi Martin, is a very good book as well. He was the chief exorcist of Rome, and then he left because he got married. And also, now, there's also a thing that I want to encourage you, if you have not purchased the movies, or I'm sorry, not the movies, it should be a movie, Dark Siege. I would encourage you to do this. So go to darksiege.com, and that's SIEGE.com. darksiege.com. Folks, let me tell you something. I know Jason. He's a great guy. He worked with the Warrens. I did not know Ed. I did know Lorraine, but I didn't know Ed Warren. So he worked and was trained by the Warrens. And the books Dark Siege, if you have not purchased them, you need to. Because the way he writes is so brilliant that you feel like you're actually in the scene. I promise they need to do a movie on this. I don't know, movie producers. If you know a movie producer, you need to get a hold. I'm telling you, you need to get a hold of Jason McLeod. Well, here's because this is a good question. So what will we get out of it? This is a real case that he worked, and it is so intense that you feel like you're being put into the scene and you're watching it. And that is how amazing he writes. This for me, I get very distracted, easily distracted. There's so many things on my mind. I got to focus on this and focus on that. But this particular book, these books, I could not put down. So I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's 12 o'clock a.m. and I'm reading one chapter. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what happens in the next chapter? And I have to keep reading, and I have to keep reading, and I have to. It's that, I'm telling you, it's that type of book. So Dark Siege, SIEGE.com. And I really like it because it doesn't. It's a case that he worked, and it was an intense case, very intense. Yeah. Skip Grace said it's an excellent book series. It really is. And by the way, you do a beautiful job. I still have the Madonna, and that you. I'll have to do a duet on one of your things because you do a great job. Are they scary? Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're very good. I believe it is on audio, and either way. I think either way, but darksiege.com. Well, hello, Ireland. So I would love to, Susan, but I've never met Sam and Colby. But if they would like for me to bless them, I'll be happy to do so. But I've never met them. Well, any prayer before sleeping? We actually have night prayer. We have night prayer Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's Compline. It's the same prayer that I prayed when I was in the Roman seminary studying for the priesthood. It's a beautiful prayer. It's a time to just, pray the Psalms, and that's what we do. My thing is going off because someone is texting me. Oh yeah. So yeah. Well, the Psalms we pray during we pray that during night prayer. So you can go to usocc.org and scroll all the way down to where it says night prayer, and it's strictly audio. Or you can just go to bishopjameslong.com and you can click a night prayer. You'll see night prayer there too. Scroll down. By the way, I am going to be here tomorrow. I'm not leaving yet. We'll be leaving here soon, but I will be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our open mic night. So we have open night. We talk about anything and everything. Just chill and answer questions, talk about stories that we read. I love Psalm 23. I, of course, pray the St. Michael the Archangel prayer. St. Michael has a long form and it has a shorter form prayer. Either one is fine. But I always pray, of course, when I wake up, Psalm 23, Psalm 91, St. Michael prayer, the Our Father, the Hail Mary. So but I also pray, I pray, every day. Yeah. But that's me. And I also like, the Liturgy of the Hours. So as a priest, I pray the Liturgy of the Hours. So you can just type in Google. So you can Google Liturgy of the Hours. Now listen to this. In a little bit of a different topic. In Kentucky, go Kentucky. Well, thank you there, Doctor. Oh, Dr. Ken. Dr. Ken's in the house there, Dr. Ken. And Dr. Ken does a great job as well with the, folks who need assistance. And, that's the thing. That's the thing that I respect about people like Ken and other folks who do this ministry. We do it for free. We do it out of the goodness of our heart. We do it because we're truly dedicated to Christ, and we want to help as many people as we possibly can. And that makes us a target. That makes us a target of hate, judgment, and condemnation, because the devil wants to try to steal your joy and happiness. But you have to stay focused. Nope, I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to give in. Because this is why I always say to all of you, every single one of you, I always tell you that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. There are people in this world that's not going to see your worth no matter what. You can give them $1 million and they will complain because you didn't give them $2 million. Or you can lay flat on the ground so that their feet never touch the ground and they will complain because you weren't flat enough. So no matter what, there are certain people in this world, they will never be happy because the only time they're happy is when they're miserable and when they're making other people miserable. So you pray for them and move on. And that's I just learned that through the years. And I'm serious, there are those people. So, and especially when you're in ministry of this type of ministry, people come at you, the devil comes at you. It's, well, we are all chosen. Every single one of us, we are all chosen. You have to remember that the smallest act of kindness to you may be a huge miracle for someone else. I really have learned that in life. I've talked about this during my Bible study. Many people have said to me, I've gotten really, really depressed and really lonely, and I was praying to God and asking God, for help. And, you just feel like you're all alone. No one's listening. And then out of the blue, a friend calls and, hey, I'm just checking on you. You see, that little simple phone call, maybe just a simple phone call. And it's like, oh, I'll just call John Doe and see how John Doe's doing. But that was the difference between John Doe realizing that God hears their prayers and not. So we are all chosen, every one of us. But let me just jump into this real quick. I've been wanting to say this. In Kentucky, a man discovers mysterious footprints in remote Kentucky woodland. Ooh, T.K. Randall, listen to this. That's what he says. The alleged Bigfoot prints appeared to have been left by someone or something that wasn't wearing any shoes. The large footprints, which were discovered by Aaron Thiel along a woodland track near Lexington, Kentucky, formed deep indentations in the mud and clearly showed all 5 toes. So the trail was about 2 miles and it was in and out. He wrote on Facebook, didn't see any people. And I was coming out of the woods on the trail. I noticed a weird footprint that had toes, took a picture, kept walking, and then saw more fully formed humanoid footprints. He said, my boot is there for comparison. He says, and they were fresh with no water in them. It doesn't make sense to me. He says, I'm 300 pounds, size 12 boot, and I barely left an imprint in the ground comparing to the other print. Wow. So after posting photographs of the prints on social media, other users came forward to suggest that he may have found evidence of a juvenile Sasquatch. So, other people are accusing him of perpetrating a hoax. So I don't know. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's you can check it out. I don't know. They're pretty interesting. It's Aaron Thiel, Aaron Thiel. And it looks like it's a public group that he posted it in. Bigfoot Believers is the name of it. Bigfoot Believers, 200,000 members. And so some people saying it's fake. Some people saying it's real. Wow. It does look pretty interesting. I mean, there are, I don't know. So take a look at it if you want to. I kind of believe that. I do believe there's something there. I don't know if it's a juvenile Sasquatch or not, but I do believe there's something there. There's too many people saying that they see these things. Too many people. But there's that. But Bigfoot's pretty cool, though, Carr. Bigfoot's a pretty cool topic. Look, I had one. I had a game warden from Alaska, and he absolutely was convinced that he saw Bigfoot. Okay, Mr. Producer, he's absolutely convinced. Well, thank you, Doc, and I appreciate it. Okay, he's absolutely convinced that he saw Bigfoot. And he said, look, I'm in Alaska. I'm a native Alaskan. I grew up in the woods. He said, if I don't know the difference between a moose, a bear, and a bipedal creature, then I shouldn't be a game warden in Alaska. And he has a point. And he has nothing to gain and everything to lose by telling people he saw Bigfoot. But it's an interesting topic. Okay, I'm going to stick with TikTok for just a little bit longer. But for those of you who are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, and KGRADB Radio, remember I tell you always that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, you're priceless. Don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Remember, I'm going to be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Mic Night. God bless, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the Paranormal Course link.